You're listening to Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Bozeman. In this podcast, I'm sharing business systems and strategies specifically tailored to the bridal sewing industry so you can build your own modern and profitable bridal alterations business. Join me as I also get to chat with fellow seamstresses and share their personal success stories. I'm so glad you're here and that we can grow together in this unique trade. Hello. Welcome back to Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress podcast. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm actually super excited about this topic because we're going to be talking about vacations and how to plan a vacation and how to plan for time off, and it's like such a fun topic. So this will be a great episode. Wherever you are in your business journey, whether you've been doing this for years and years and you're a veteran of bridal sewing, or maybe you're kind of new in the biz and you're figuring out how to plan time off, this is just going to be a nice little bookmark episode for you. So I just came off of a nice little vacation. We went to visit my husband's family. They're in Minnesota, and I posted about it, and then I got some really great DMs. Some of you were like, how do you take time off? I haven't had a vacation since I started this business, or like, I don't know what vacation means. You know what I mean? Like, and I totally get it. And it was so funny when I was like, on the plane, I'm thinking this would be a great podcast episode of like how I planned just time off, and like I don't feel stressed heading out of town, and even coming back and easing back into my schedule. I didn't feel like this frantic rush. And I will say, like, I definitely haven't always felt this way when it's come to, planning vacations during the summer. So that was already kind of on my mind. And then when I got those messages, I was like, oh yeah, I am ready for this. So super excited to tackle this topic for you and hopefully encourage you that you do not need to be locked in your sewing room for the entire summer. Like, your business does not need to run that way. And I'm going to give you some like really basic steps to think about. Okay. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed at the thought of vacation, but I just want to give you a few tips that you can consider and maybe plan for next summer so you can have some enjoyable time off during your next busy season. Because I hope by this point in the year, you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel and like, okay, this is just for a season and things are going to mellow out shortly. And at least in my neck of the woods in the Pacific Northwest, I do have quite a bit of September brides and October brides, but then like November, December, it really kind of slows down into a nice steady pace. So I definitely have more time at home and I'm not like dreaming of sewing or whatever. So I hope it's the same case for you. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. Oh, actually, before we dive in, I want to tell you what's happening within our membership for the month of September, because there's kind of like a lot of really cool things happening this month. Number one, we have another open house event. So we did this in June. It was super fun. We had guests coming in and just kind of checking out what the membership feels like behind the scenes, what trainings feel like, our live calls, our live coaching calls. And recently, I've talked about in the podcast that we've made a switch with the membership. So instead of having this like evergreen open cart where you can like join the membership anytime, we've changed things so that there's just going to be 2 opportunities a year to join the membership. And the reason we did that is because I wanted new members to have the same starting point, so people were having a better opportunity to connect with each other and feel like they're not trying to catch up when they join the membership. If we have, just 2 times a year where you can come in, you're going to get trained on how to use all the resources, you're going to get introduced to all of the existing members, the new members. You're not going to feel like the newbie. You're not going to feel like you're just trying to catch up on all the past trainings and figuring out like where you should even start in that process. It's going to be a lot more organized for new members. And I'm going to be honest, I just want to know our members better. I want to know, like, where are you exactly in your business and what tools do you need to feel like you're successful in your business? And that's just going to help me do a better job of planning our trainings, having our guest speakers come in with the appropriate topics. And I want to be more involved in you reaching your goal. So that's super fun for me. And like, I want to just be a little bit more intentionally invested in the members, and this is going to help me do that. So in the past couple months, our membership has been closed, and the cart is going to open up again on September 24th. I'm so excited. And to kick that off, we're going to have a free masterclass. So maybe you've seen this on the Instagrams. We're going to have a free masterclass all about scheduling. And I'm going to there are going to be some hints in today's podcast episode about scheduling and what that masterclass is going to include, because that's a huge part of planning your vacation, is having a schedule that can support that, right? So the free masterclass is happening on Monday, September 23rd. You can sign up using the link in our show notes. There's also a link in my bio over on Instagram at Secrets of Bridal Seamstress. And then on the 24th, that's a Tuesday, September 24th, we're going to have a live coaching call so that if you're a guest for our open house, you can submit questions that you have about your specific business, maybe kind of where you're feeling a little stuck, and we'll go ahead and talk through that during that coaching call. And you'll also have an opportunity to hear from some of our existing members so they can share with you just what they've gleaned from the membership, how it's helped them, and you'll also get a good sense of like who your peers are going to be, because it's just like the best group of women, and I'm really excited for you to meet them. So the open house is September 23rd and 24th, and the membership cart opens on September 24th, and it's going to close September 30th. So it'll just be open for a week. And the reason is something super exciting is happening October 1st, like literally like the first week of October. We're diving right in with an 8-week intensive course called the Six Figure Seamstress. And I know some of you are like, I don't care about making six figures, and it's fine. Like, it's just a phrase, okay? But the point of the course is to have all of our members know what they need to know to make the money that they want to make in their business. So maybe you've already figured this out, that you can't just say, okay, I'm open for business, and expect to not only have your dream clients walk through the door, but also have your dream income and your time off that you need and the hours that, keeps you sane and keeps you balanced with your family. Like, there's so many different steps along the way to create a successful business that can be sustainable long term, not just like, okay, we can do this for a couple of years and then you're going to feel exhausted and then you're going to have to quit, right? So the goal with the Six Figure Seamstress course is to give you all the tools you need to point you in the direction of all the resources that you'll need to access to create a modern and profitable and sustainable business. And if that means for you, six figures is what it would take to give you like maybe the freedom that you're looking for, or the balance that you want between your home life and work life and time off and paying for the kids' sports and all those things, then that's great. If it's more than that, you're going to use the same steps to get more. And maybe if it's like half of a six-figure salary, you're still going to be using the same strategies and the same tools. So all of that is kicking off the first week of October. And that means all of our members, existing and new, are going to be going through the same course, meeting at the same time every week, and talking about our homework, talking about our experiences. And then after that 8-week course, we're going to just resume business as usual in the memberships. That means that we'll have our 3 calls a month. So the first one, I know I've told you this before, but I'll just reiterate. First Tuesday of the month is always a training with either me, or I'll bring in an outside educator to talk about a specific topic that I am not a pro at. And you're going to need to hear from somebody else who knows the subject better. The second call of the month is always our sew along, and we will tackle like just a different subject that bridal seamstresses often face, and we'll set up our laptops in the sewing room and just talk through how we do things. So the month of September, we have like a back to school edition, and I was kind of excited to plan that because I was kind of nerding out about back to school. As a retired teacher, I love back to school season. Like, it just still is so fun for me. And like, okay, you got to get the new pencils and you get your new schedule and then the routine, even though nothing really changes for me at this point, but I just still get caught up in the excitement of a new school year. So our back to school sew along means that we're going to be talking about our favorite tools, or the ABCs of bridal sewing, like our favorite basics that we just love to include with all of our sewing gigs. So we're going to be talking through that, and our favorite toys and tools that we use. That will be the subject of this month's sew along. And then the third Tuesday of the month is always our girls' night in call. And these actually are not recorded. They're just live. You can share stories about your clients, about maybe the stressors in your life or whatever. And normally there's a lot of good stories that come to the table, and it's just a very fun, entertaining evening. So it's like my favorite part of the membership, because we just get to know each other so much through those calls. Okay. what was I getting at? Oh, yes. So after the 8-week course, that's going to be the routine of the membership. And our doors probably will not open again until late spring. So thinking like 6 months down the road. So if you are thinking of freshening up your business, you want to get some strategies lined up, I think now would be just the best time for you to join, because you'd have these slower months to work out all the kinks and get things working on the back end for a brand new season. So that is all happening in the month of September. Okay, now I think we're now ready to delve into the subject of vacations and how you can actually plan a vacation, enjoy it, not have nightmares during the time off. You're not like dreaming about sewing. You can actually enjoy the time off. Okay, so let's dive in. So here are 4 steps to planning and enjoying a vacation as a bridal seamstress. Okay, so number 1, plan the vacation. Get it on the calendar, book the tickets, plan to get out of town, and don't make any excuses. You've got to plan time off, period. I know what you're thinking, because trust me, I've heard it before. I've read it in my DMs. I've read it in the emails that I receive from some of you. You feel like you can never take a vacation during busy wedding season, like through summertime. And I get it. And I remember that stress, and I sympathize with your feelings, but I don't want you to cling to that feeling, okay? Because we make time for what truly matters to us. Okay. We make time for what truly matters to us. So that phrase is like one of my favorite mantras. And it came from when I was still teaching and I knew that I wanted to get out of the classroom. I was trying to build up this sewing business, but I was so overwhelmed and I felt like I'm never going to have enough time to like start a website, figure out how to use Canva, like figure out how to use Instagram. I was just feeling like there was never enough time. And I would journal that, like, I don't have time to finish the dresses. Like, I don't have time. I feel like in that time in my life, I did have time to sew because that was so exciting for me. Like, I loved coming home from work and then, coming home from teaching and then seeing brides and then sewing at night. Like, that was so fun. What I felt overwhelmed by was all of the back end stuff, like I mentioned, like the website, or like figuring out like how to use social media actually for my business, or like what is marketing. So that's what I would journal about. Like, I don't have time to figure out Canva. I don't have time to figure out how to, put a website together. And then I caught myself because I was saying that over and over in my mind, that I believed it, and I would sit down to do something and that's all that would come to my head. Like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. Like, I'm never going to get this done because I don't have time. So I wrote that down in my journal, like the opposite of that, right? I have time for what really matters to me. And I made time for it, because what I would do is I would just watch a little bit less Netflix and work on the website for 30 minutes a night. Or, I would cut down on my scrolling and I would just be more intentional with like, what am I doing with this social media? And is it actually working for my business? Right. So we make time for what truly matters to us. This past year, actually, it's probably been like more than a couple of years. Unfortunately, I've been feeling my joints. So before the business, I used to love going to the gym, and that was such a big part of my routine. And I had a specific like training regimen. Like, I loved my gym time, and I had this great schedule, right? And then the business got busy, and I realized that I was pouring so much of my energy and my effort and like every last minute into the business. And part of it is because like I love working. I love the podcast. I love the membership. I love sewing. I love my brides. Like, I'm enjoying all these things, but I was not making time for like physical health. And all of a sudden I was like feeling my joints, and I'm like, okay, this is a little scary. I'm 37. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be like feeling my hips as much as I'm feeling my hips. So again, going back to that lie in my head, I was like, well, I don't have time to join a gym. Like, I don't have time to even like take a walk at night because I have all these other things to do. And then when I get home, I just want to look at my chickens and I want to like just garden, and I have all these other things that I enjoy, but I don't have time for the gym because that's just like one more thing, right? Well, that was another lie. And guess what? I joined a gym, and believe it or not, there is time to go almost every day. So when I pack my bag, I have time. And one of the perks is the gym is like literally on my way home from work. Like, I take this road home. So I will drive by this athletic club, whether or not I choose to go is like up to me, but I'm going to drive by it, right? So there's time for what really matters to me. Even if it's just like 45 minutes after work, I like pop in and get my little workout in and I do my stretches and okay, there's time for it. So the same thing, I know those are like little daily tasks that I just mentioned, but same thing goes for planning your vacation. What truly matters to you is that time with your family? Is it just time for you? Maybe you want to visit friends or you want to go see some family that you haven't seen in a while. I want to go see my sister at the end of this month. She lives on the other side of the country, and that is really important to me because her kids are growing up. Like, I want to spend more time with them. It was really important for Duran and I to go to see his family because same thing, the kids are growing up. We hadn't seen his parents in like a couple years, and it was like, oh man, we really want to like make time for this. We're going to make this happen. So if you truly know like what is important to you, is it spending 7 days a week at work? Or is it like, hey, I'm working to make money to like enjoy my life and enjoy some of this off time, right? You think about what really matters to you and make time for it. And vacations can be included in that. It doesn't need to be something lavish, but it can literally be like 5 days off, even if you just want to stay at home. If that's important to you and that's like your vacation, do it. Put it in the calendar and plan the time off. Okay, so that's step number one. It's pretty easy, right? So far, just plan it, put it in the calendar. Number two, plan your work around the vacation. Don't plan your vacation around the work. So, what I mean is, it would be easier for me to say, okay, well, let me see. Work totally slows down in November, so I can go see my sister in November. And let me see. Things are pretty slow in February, so we can go see Duran's family in February in Minnesota when it's going to be like negative 20 degrees. I mean, we won't be able to like breathe because it'll be so cold, but my work will be slow. So it'd be easier. So that would be, okay, planning my vacation around work, right? My slow months are the only time that I can take vacation. Well, we wanted to go to Minnesota in August because it's the Minnesota State Fair. It's like super, super fun. It has the best food. It's totally worth the vacation. We went more than once because you have to hit up all the little nooks and crannies of this huge state fair, right? And that only comes once a year. So we had to do it in August. And then my sister and her boys, they have like this fall break, whatever, or their little like, I don't know what it is. I feel like East Coast schools do this because we don't do it over here in the Pacific Northwest, but like they have a specific time off in fall. And even though it's kind of still a busier time for me, like I want to meet them during their time off school, right? So I'm planning my vacations when I want them, not when it would be the most convenient necessarily for my business. Okay, so what does that look like with the actual work that's coming through the door and the brides and how I'm like scheduling the brides for that? Okay, so I knew that we were going to be gone the third week of August, right? So I wanted like all the brides or all the weddings for the last weekend of August and even like September 7th brides out the door before we left for vacation. And the reason I did that is I didn't want to be stressed about it. And I know too, I know me that when I come home from vacation, like I literally need like time to not talk, to just be like quiet, to catch up on my work. I wanted to do laundry. Like the first day that we were home, Duran was home from work too. We just kind of like vegged out the house and it was great, right? Because you're kind of exhausted sometimes after your vacation. And I remember, having vacations and then having fittings like not the day after we fly in, but like the next day and just diving right in. And it's exhausting. And like I would feel like I could never catch up. So to alleviate that, I knew I didn't want to have any brides that had a dress due the weekend we came home. So in order to do that, that took some planning. I had some earlier pickups, and especially those dresses that had like, we know the ones that just take more like thought and intention and maybe a little more stress. I wanted those completely out the door and out of my life before we left on vacation. So the only projects that I wanted for September 7th, because yeah, I think I had 3 brides who were getting married September 7th who hadn't picked up their dresses yet. And those were like literally straps and a bustle and a hem. And so I knew when I came back from vacation, I'd have like a full week to finish up those dresses, kind of ease back into work. So we had, a week off, and then I wanted like almost a full week for me to like ease back into work before I saw a bride. So I know that's like 2 full weeks almost, I was still working, but I wasn't like with clients that second week, but I knew that's what I needed to help me ease into vacation and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I can't catch up. And I think for a lot of listeners, that is the stress of vacationing. It's not necessarily the time off because, okay, when you're not at work, you're not at work, like you're not seeing brides. It's like, cool. But it's the dread of the week back. It's like after you come back from vacation, it's like, I hope I don't get sick because I have 10 brides that I have to see immediately after vacation. And I'm going to be tired and I'm going to be like, missing vacation mode, but I don't even have time to mourn it because I got to dive right back in. So I would suggest, in addition to your planning vacation, give yourself that extra buffer week, not just to sit home, but to go to work, to catch up on the sewing. And you're giving yourself the gift of time to just like ease back in. And too, that like the heavy hitters, you've already gotten them out of the way. So if you're going to be gone, a week, give yourself that extra buffer week. And you shouldn't have any dresses that are due until after that buffer week, because then like there's no insane pressure when you come back from vacation. So I feel like that's like, honestly, that's kind of like a little golden nugget. And maybe it just took me longer than average to figure it out. So maybe you already know this, that you do need an extra week after vacation. But I would strongly suggest to add that to your vacation plans if you can. So after you come home, give yourself a few days just to catch up. And so then it takes away that angst. And also for me, when we were flying home, I didn't feel like, oh man, okay, here we go. Got to get ready to get back to work. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go home. We'll have tomorrow together. We're going to get some groceries and do laundry together. And then I'll head to the shop. And it felt good and easy. And I was excited to kind of get back in my groove, because I didn't have that pressure of like, oh gosh, I need to see clients, because that's where it's like, oh, post vacation, that's tough. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I hope that made sense of how to plan your work around vacation, and don't plan your vacation around work. Okay. Give yourself the gift of time is tip number 3. And I kind of just got into that of like, it's not just about when to leave. It's about what you're doing after you come home and how to just give yourself that gift of time to just ease back in. So a big part of that is having an established scheduling routine that even allows extra time. And this is something that we're totally going to dive into during that masterclass that is happening on September 23rd. So a little plug in for that. Go ahead and sign up for that. It's free. So I know I've talked about this before, but my schedule that I have all the time, and I've had this for the past couple of years, is my week on, week off schedule. So I have a week of clients, a week of fittings, and then I have a week off that is not client facing. So I'm at the shop, I'm sewing, I'm home, I'm grocery shopping, I'm reading. You know what I mean? It's great for me because I feel like I'm super balanced, and I never feel the overwhelm that I used to feel like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to catch up, because I know I'm always just a few days away from a week off of work, right? So if I'm like, say on a Wednesday and I'm feeling like, oh gosh, it's getting crunch time, like I am just feeling a little stressed, it's like, okay, well, let's just get to Friday. And then I have the next 7 days, whatever, 9 days off work. You know what I'm saying? And or at least off of clients, and I can catch up, and it's not gonna be just hanging over my head. That has been such a game changer for me. And that has helped so much when it comes to planning time off, because you already have kind of that like built-in buffer week. And if need be, I have that week off where I'm like, not client facing, that I can move some brides around if I need to. Okay, let's work backwards. I knew the third week of August we're going to be in Minnesota. So the week before that, I saw brides, right? That was my big week to get them out the door. The week before that was my quote unquote not client facing week, but I kind of used it as like a play week, and I brought some brides in early just to get them out of the way so that they were out the door before vacation, and I had that flexibility. And to be honest, it's so nice to have that whether or not I'm planning a vacation, because just to have that week where, a bride has an emergency and she needs to reschedule, and it's like, oh, okay, I have this bonus week, so come in, on Tuesday or whatever. I have that playtime for my schedule that I wouldn't have if every single week I was working with clients and I was working around an appointment schedule. Does that make sense? So give yourself some kind of gift of flexibility of time and think about how does your overall schedule routine support you if you want to take time off. So maybe you have like I hear a lot that some people have like a 1 day a week where they just sew or 2 days a week where they just sew. So maybe if you're planning your vacation, you're going to use those 2 buffer days if you can to squeeze in a fitting or two and get some dresses out the door, right? So you're planning that way just to get people out of your life sooner before vacation starts. And I always like, as much as I can, I like to stick to that 10 to 14 day mark for a dress pickup, but sometimes it's like, okay, how about a 3 week mark? How about you pick up your dress 3 weeks early or 4 weeks early? If they're not trying anything crazy with like weight loss, or if, we're not trying to do anything that requires a tighter time frame, yeah, I'll have them pick up like 3 or 4 weeks early if I know I just want to get as much out the door as I can for my peace of mind, right? So you have a nice scheduling routine that gives a little bit of flexibility. You build in those little buffer days. So if you need to, call in brides early or late or whatever, you could have those little extra play days in your schedule, and give yourself the gift of bringing people in early for pickups, right? Because this is your business. And so you can change your timeline to fit your vacation, right? I know you know these things, but I'm just giving you permission to change things up if you need to. But I also strongly suggest that, and this will help with all the things with your scheduling, with mapping out what needs to be done before a deadline like a vacation, is to know exactly how long things take you to complete. And I'm giggling because I know that you don't know, because I don't really know. As long as we've been like doing this, and it's so funny, within our membership, I think this is like one of the first three trainings that I did when we first started Secrets of Bridal Seamstress membership was time yourself. Get a timer out and know how long it takes you. For me, and I've said this to our members like several times, I always think that a lining hem takes me 7 minutes, and it doesn't, because my method, I don't use a rolled hem foot. So I know that lining hems take me 18 minutes. Okay. So which is like still pretty, it's pretty good, but it's like it's not 7. And so when I'm saying, oh yeah, it's just gonna take me 5 minutes, take 5 minutes. Okay, for an A-line lining hem, it's gonna take me 18 minutes. And then if it's a ball gown, it can take, like 30 or whatever. But like know how long things take you. Just get a notebook out, set the timer. Next time you have to, oh my goodness, you know what? Do a pocket hem for the horsehair pocket hem or enclosed hem. Yeah, time yourself on that, because that takes way longer than you think, right? Or like, okay, got to pick the lace off. How long does it take you to pick lace off of an A-line skirt? Okay. Or applique on the bottom of an A-line skirt. Time yourself for these things. How long does it take you to sew on each point of your bustle, right? How long does it take you to sew on buttons if you are adding buttons to a train or whatever? So the more that you know exactly how long things take you, well, that's going to help you across the board, right? So not just for vacation planning, like how much you have to accomplish before you leave for vacation, but it will just help the whole business, but especially if you are on a deadline and you want to get some dresses out the door before you get on the plane or hit the road for the road trip, knowing how long things will take you, it will be a game changer. And also it'll help you plan for when you come home for vacation. So that's how I gauged like who I wanted out the door before we left, and then who I wanted to see after we came home, they were getting married, a week and a half after I came home, or 2 weeks, whatever. And I was like, okay, I know how long things will take me, so I can get these ones done, in a half a day or whatever. So that is going to help you immensely, is just knowing how long things take. And I know we all kind of have a big estimate, right? I mean, we kind of know, but if you can get a list, then you're going to be doing yourself a huge favor, and not just for vacationing, but just across the board. It'll be such a blessing. Okay. Finally, when you're planning a vacation, your business should support your vacation pay. And you're like, what? What? I'm an entrepreneur, right? Exactly. So what we charge, obviously we're not employees. Well, some of us are. If you have an S corp title, technically you are your own employee, but you know what I'm saying. In a traditional sense, we're not employees. And so we don't have our vacation hours spelled out. As entrepreneurs, we need to take responsibility for our vacation time. And that means, as we've been talking about, planning out the time and giving ourselves the actual hours off, and also planning financially for this vacation pay or this vacation time. So, our invoices, what we charge, should give us the freedom and the flexibility for time off. So if you have a list of clients or you have a to-do list and your invoices are just barely paying the bills, or it's enough to, pay the rent or whatever, and you have to take in so many clients to make that work, and you do not have time for vacation, then that means that your invoices are too low. Okay. Let that one sink in. If you do not have time for vacation and your schedule is stacked, you're not charging enough. If you have fewer clients with a higher ticket average, you would have more flexibility to take time off. Does that make sense? Let me say it again. If you have fewer clients with a higher ticket average, you would have more flexibility in your schedule to take time off and to take vacation time. So I hope this is all making sense of all of the things that line up to take a vacation without feeling stressed. So it's not just about, okay, give yourself a week off a year, right? It's how are you building up a business that sustains a vacation? How are you like financially supporting the vacation? How is your schedule supporting your vacation? Not just like the month that you leave, but the whole year. What kind of routine have you set up for yourself so that like it's actually like physically possible for you to like leave work, right? And I think for a lot of us, where we kind of get stuck is in the financial piece, where it's like, there's no way I can walk away because I'm so bogged down with so many clients. If that's the case, something needs to shift. So your average ticket should be higher so you can take on even just 3 or 4 fewer brides a month. Or maybe you can consider hiring an assistant so that you're not the one doing all of the work and that you're the only one responsible to complete these dresses. It's not a balance that makes sense long term. So if you're there, don't stress out. It's okay. Changes can be made. And I think a lot of us were there at some point where it's like we get so excited that it's like it's working and like people are coming to me and I'm like booked out and oh my goodness, like I'm in high demand, and it can get almost like addicting to say yes and to take on all these projects because it's like, oh yeah, it's growing. And I sew this, I make this much money. I take on this project, I'm making more money. And we can get lost in that, and it's not something that can be sustainable long term, right? I mean, I give you like 2 seasons because that's kind of what I did. I think it was like 2 years, then I'm like, okay, this does not make sense. What's happening? And there are things that you can do to support a vacationable business. Okay. So, as an entrepreneur, you have the power to create the schedule that works best for you, which is why I cannot wait to talk about scheduling on September 23rd. And you also have the power to create invoices that support the life that you want to build, or that can support whatever goal it is that you are trying to make with your business. And I know we talk about this all the time. Like, not everybody listening has the same goal in your business. So some of you want this to be a fun side hustle. You want this to support your home renovation projects, or your family vacation, or the sports bills, or whatever, or like private school. I know one particular listener, she has a business that supports her kids' private school, private education, which is so amazing. And then others, you're like, I want to build a franchise. I want this to go as far as it can possibly go. And this, I want this to take over my 9 to 5, or I want to retire my husband, or whatever it is. You have the power to reach these goals, but decisions need to be made along the way, right? So these are things that you can be thinking about of how can your schedule support your vacation, even the kind of work that you take on, how is that supporting your vacation? And are you financially supporting your vacation by how you are choosing to charge your customers? A lot of things to think about, but it's all about vacation. So it's all like a very fun topic. So if you're listening and you have questions about these things, you're excited, but then you get a little sweaty, or you feel like, yes, I can do this, but then it's like, how do I start? hit me up, shoot me a DM, send me an email. If you're on my email list, I send out Six Figure Friday tip of the week every Friday. Well, I didn't this past Friday, but usually I do. So you can reply to those too and like ask me questions. Or maybe you're feeling like, hey, that sounds really good. Like I would love to have a business that is making enough money and also gives me time to leave and visit my family or just like stay home for a week. Like I want that. Join the membership. I mean, what can I say? I clearly I love our membership and I love what it offers. And if you're in a place where like things are clicking and now you're ready for it to be smoother and just make a little bit more sense for you and for your family long term, take the next step and invest in the business and invest in yourself and get that peer support and get these monthly trainings that will help you like take it to the next level and clean things up and just make it easier for you because I know how hard you've been working the past couple years because I close my eyes and I can like be right there. I mean, like I remember those feelings and it does not need to be that way though forever. Like there should be a point where it gets significantly easier. Never gets easy, right? Because it's still work, but we're made to work. So it's like, okay, but it can still be fun and doable and manageable and all the things. So you know where to find me if you have questions about these things. But plan the vacation, number one, plan your work around the vacation, not the vacation around work. Give yourself the gift of time and flexibility. And we talked about like a few different ways to do that. And then number four, give yourself the gift of vacation pay. And it's up to you because you're the business owner here. Okay. Hate to admit it, but you're the one in charge. Okay. You know where to find me. If you have not signed up yet for our free masterclass, please take a moment to do so. And I really encourage you to consider hopping in the membership while the cart is open for that last week of September, September 24th through the 30th. Make the investment. I can promise you that you won't regret it. It's going to be, we're going to have this epic start with the Six Figure Seamstress course. And I'm just so excited for what's going to come for our new members and also our existing members because we're bringing some cool stuff to the table the next 6 months. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. And summer's not over yet. So we still have a couple beautiful months over here in the PNWs. And I hope in your neck of the woods too, you can still catch some beautiful sunsets before the weather shifts. Oh, one last thing I want to tell you. Fall Fest, we're sold out, right? Our mini retreat in November, we're sold out. Charleston, our January retreat, we are sold out for that. But the next retreat that will have openings is coming in November 2025, and that will be in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we're going to get a wait list ready for that one because honestly, I'm going to open it up once we reserve the house in Scottsdale. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, right? So we'll have a wait list. If you just want to jump on that as soon as that's available, that will be November 2025 is our next retreat opening. So I cannot wait for that one. And I'm so excited to be in Arizona too. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's wrap this one up. You know where to find me if you have questions about vacationing, but here's to being an entrepreneur with the freedom of vacations and vacation time.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. And if you're feeling really generous, leave a review. Thanks, everyone.